Good morning. My name is Gary Bentrup, and I'm a research landscape planner with the USDA National Agroforestry Center. I wish I could be there in person, but glad to be part of this workshop, at least virtually. I'd like to take this opportunity to describe a draft economic tool that we are developing as part of a national SIG grant with Appalachian Sustainable Development and many other partners, shown here. The tool is called the Forest Farming Calculator, and the purpose of the tool is to provide a quick, user-friendly tool for exploring the income potential of growing species for the botanical and medicinal markets. Currently, this version of tool has 7 species in it, as shown in the main menu. It's important to note that there is great variability in forest farming operations, and this tool is only provided as a starting point for producers to prepare their own personalized enterprise plan. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the tool, and so let's use goldenseal as our example. Selecting a species will take you to a dashboard. The tool's design and user interface are based on research on decision support tools. Each dashboard has a wild stewarding and forest farming scenario. From the dashboard, the 2 main variables to manipulate are area and product price. Behind each scenario are enterprise budgets, which we'll take a look at in a minute. A wild stewarding scenario assumes you have an existing patch of species that you intend to steward and harvest from. The area is in increments of 0.5 acres, or about 46 by 46 feet. So we're going to start out with a patch of 0.15 acres. In order to sustainably harvest year to year in your patch, one can only harvest a small portion of the plot. For goldenseal, this value is set at 10% of the overall tended area, based on our existing knowledge base regarding goldenseal. You can then manipulate the price for the dried root. Once an area and price is selected, a 12-year cash flow will be projected based on 2 different yield rates and will be shown in the graph. Below the graph, the tool will estimate the break-even point for the 12-year period based on the high and low yields. You can also see yearly values in a tabular format by selecting the Show Tables button, as shown here. You can also hide the tables as well. So moving on to the forest farming scenario, this assumes you will be planting an area with rhizomes and that you will be harvesting on a 4-year cycle for this species, with a replanting every 4 years as well. So there's a total of 3 harvest periods over the 12 years. So we'll pick equivalent size. The cumulative scenario shows the potential if you were doing both a wild stewarding and forest farming scenario together on the property. So that shows it over time. So let's go to the wild stewarding enterprise budget. At the top are overall variables, including hourly wage and interest rate to calculate present value. These values can be changed with the slider bar to see the effect on the projections. The enterprise budgets are based on a 0.1 acre site as a module. There are variable costs which scale to operation size, and then fixed costs that generally don't scale with operation size. There are several components for each enterprise budget, including site preparation, annual maintenance, harvesting, operation cost, and fixed costs. These defaults are based on existing enterprise budgets, but the tool does allow one to modify these defaults and to personalize based on your own information if you have it. Note that the 1 acre budget shows that you will be only harvesting an area of 0.1 acres. Again, that 10% of the overall 1 acre in this enterprise budget. There's also the opportunity to modify your operating costs. As we scroll down, we come to fixed costs, which include expenses such as certifications, insurance, property tax. Because property tax and insurance can be so variable, it's left to the user to provide those costs. The default has certifications included for both forest-grown, verified, and organic certification. The user can easily take these costs to zero if they are pursuing production without these certifications, or want to explore the financial effect of these certifications. Down below provides a summary of the costs and revenues based on the actual projected area in the project, which was 0.15. Tables here summarize the costs and revenues over the 12-year period based on this input. So we'll go back to the goldenseal dashboard. The forest farming budget is very similar to the wild stewarding example, with the primary exception that this example is going to include labor for the planting as well as operating costs for the planting stock. As mentioned before, the cumulative scenario combines the two scenarios in case a producer has both type of operations occurring simultaneously. If the user is exploring the cumulative scenarios, they may want to modify the fixed costs between the wild stewarding and forest farming scenario, so fixed costs are not double counted. For instance, a purchase of a drying unit might be split between the wild stewarding scenario and the forest farming scenario. Back to the main menu, we'll take a look at ginseng real quick. Mainly I show this one to show that by species, the interval for the analysis does differ. So in this example, ginseng is kind of typically produced in a forest farming environment on a 9-year period. So that became the interval. Now the wild stewarding example, again, is predicting that you have an existing patch that you're going to sustainably manage year to year and harvest a small portion from. So you'll actually have 9 harvest periods in a wild stewarding example. So that's just an example of the wild or the ginseng. Now, we do provide an overall financial summary dashboard. And this dashboard summarizes the results for all the species that the user is considering wild stewarding and/or forest farming. Note that combining species with different assessment intervals, so you'll have goldenseal is on a 12-year interval and the ginseng a 9, so you do see that reflected in these charts. And then finally, there's also additional resources in the tool, or links I should say, that take you to additional information on these species, particularly focused on economic information. Thanks for your attention, and I look forward to discussing this tool with people.